Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, and we're back with another Microsoft Access lesson. Today we're continuing the work we did on forms, and we're going to make some drop-down list combo box for some of the forms which you've already made. Now, we suggest you have our start database to do this. If you don't have the database, that's okay. If you've got one that you're working on and want to add some drop-down lists onto your forms, some pick and click, that's the name of the game. Pick and click lists is what we're doing today. This is actually the third time we've tried to make this video. We had like the phone ringing like crazy, and then we had planes flying over really low. We're kind of on a flight path here, but it's not usually that loud. Then we just had bird wars in the backyard. We've got a couple of pet doves that we feed in the yard, and they're going crazy having some bird wars with some crows. But anyway, fingers crossed, everything will be okay this time. So it's hats off and glasses off, because I'm the guy with the white hat, remember, and hopefully not with messy hair. And let's get started. Okay. Now, we're going to be looking at drop-down lists. So we've got a stock items form here, and we've got things like available and condition, whether it's new, used, or refurbished, but people could just type anything into these at the moment, and they could put any sort of category they wanted. They're not really protected properly, these fields. So one of them is the condition. Let's just look at that one, the condition. Now, with the condition, it can either be new, used, or refurbished. Refurbished is a word you may not have heard of before. What it means is something like an old barbecue. They've put in new gas burners, painted over the rust, and kind of restored it so it's almost brand new. And it's still a used item, but it's called refurbished, okay? So on that field for condition, people could type in anything. They could type in antique. Oh, I think it's excellent. Oh, it's okay. It's very good condition. It's slight wear and tear. So we want to limit that, and we want to have good, clean, accurate data in the database. So a great way of doing this thing, which we call validation, is to have one of these pick and click lists. So we've all used these on forms before. You click on a little arrow and it gives you a list of options that you can choose from, and you pick and click which option you want. Now, Microsoft Access calls these guys combo boxes. I don't like that. I just like calling it a pick and click list or a drop down list. You know, the word combo box, it sounds like something you'd get at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, yeah, come on down to Kentucky Fried Chicken for our combo box. We've got 3 pieces of chicken fries and potato with gravy and coleslaw. You know, a veritable feast of salt, sugar, and fat. That's not going to do your health a lot of good, but anyway, enough of the healthy eating lecture. So drop-down lists are pretty typical when you're on screens or apps, so that you could be picking gender, male, female, other, the accommodation you want, budget, basic or luxury, and so on. We're going to look at a couple of fields. First up, status, where the status of an item can be those values listed there, and the condition, which we just talked about. So in this lesson, we're going to do the following. We're going to create a pick and click drop down list for condition, and we're going to do one for status. All right, now for doing these lists, you can get our start database and use that to follow along with the lesson. But if you've got your own database with some forms you want to add drop down lists onto, that's fine. This video will show you how to do that, because there are only 4 steps for doing it. First, you create this little one field table, a brand new table in your database that has the different list values typed into it, such as new, used, and refurbished. Then step 2, we actually go onto the form and in design view change it to be a combo box. And step 3 and 4 we can do straight after that together. We're going to set the row source for that combo box so that it'll go and get it from our little table that we made in step 1. And step 4, we need to just set that the limit to list is yes, and we'll explain that when we do this. So let's jump across to Microsoft Access. Now, when you get our download database or any database and open it up, often you get this yellow bar across the top and it's asking you to enable content. So all you do on that is you just click it and say yes, enable the content. Okay, we're opening up the stock items form, and let's work on this field called status. So at the moment, I can type in anything. So I could say, oh yeah, the status is that's still in the barn, it's still for sale. Okay, so I could just put that in, that's fine. I could save that record. Anything I like, I'll just press escape to change that back. The ESC key changes it back to available. All right, so that's the problem and we need a drop-down list on it. So we're doing the status. All right, step one is to create the table. So we go onto the Create tab up the top here and we choose Table. Now this is just going to be a simple one-column table. In the left-hand corner here, View, let's go into Design View. And this table needs a name. And we're going to call this the Status Values List. Okay, now we've been putting spaces in between things for our table names and query names and whatnot. The purists, the programmers that use other languages know that that's not the right thing to do. You're supposed to use camel case, where you bunch them all up together like this, or you can use underscores, okay? So to keep things simple, we've just been doing it with spaces, and look, with spaces does work, but it's not the proper, correct kind of IT way of doing it. So let's just do that with underscores on it, status values list, and click OK. Now, it gives us a field name here and the data type. Now the data type's a number. This isn't a number. These are words that we're putting in, like available, sold, out of stock, charity, these status values. Okay, so we need to change that to short text. So up here, this is going to be the status value, what particular value it is. And it's not a primary key for the table, so we don't have like customer IDs or seller IDs or stock item IDs. So click on that key, and up on the primary key logo in the corner here, just click that so we don't have a key on it. Okay, so we've just got no key, status value, and the type is short text. Now swap over in the left-hand corner here to datasheet view, because a lot of people think, oh, here we enter the status values and they put them in, available, sold, out of stock. Type it into here. That will just make more columns in the table, and that's a common mistake. You actually only need one field name, which is status value. It's over here in datasheet view where we type them in. So the status value is something can be available, or maybe it's been sold, so it's not available anymore. If it's more than 37 days old, they send it off to charity. And if it's between, so what have we got? We've got available, sold, charity. And once a seller has been paid on a sold item, the item's changed to out of stock. So out of stock means it's no longer in the barn because it got sold and the seller got paid their money for that item. So there are four values. There are four and there are no more. So save that and we can close that table. So there are values for the drop-down list. They've gone into a little table here called status values list. Now the next step is to open up our stock items form. So we're opening up that form, and here we're in datasheet view where we can type things in, but we want to change over to design view for this one. So we've been using form view and layout view a lot. We're going to go into design view now for this one. And in design view, our first step that we're up to is step number 2. And step number 2 is changing it to the combo box. So while it's clicked in orange, just click on the orange bar line here and then hover your mouse over, just move the mouse to where it says change to, move the mouse to where it says combo box, and then click. So we click on that. So that's changed it to a combo box, and you'll notice here we've got the arrow on it. Now, if we flick over to form view, we've got that drop down box happening, but we've got nothing in it. There's nothing in the box. What we need to do to have those options of available, sold, charity, those ones, we need to link this box up to that table we made of the status values, which is over here, the available, sold, charity, out of stock. So we've got to link that table there into this field here. So how we do that is we have to go into design view. So back into design view on that, make sure it's highlighted, and we change things in the property sheet. Now, if your property sheet's not showing here on the right-hand side, When you went into design view, it should have gone to the design tab up the top here, and then you just go across to where property sheet is and click on that, and that brings up the property sheet. Now, we're not using the format section things today. We're using the data tab. So we're not changing some colors or font sizes or things with that. We're going to the data tab. So make sure you're on the data tab, and on the data tab, there's control source here. That is for the actual field we're on, the status field. That's the field in the table that the form actually goes and looks at to get the value to bring up on the screen form. We don't want to change that. That'll mess up everything. Make sure you go to this second one, row source. That's the one we're changing. And the idea is that you click the down arrow, and we want to use that status values list table we made. Now, a common mistake people make is they will accidentally click on this triple dots one. Now, if you click on the triple dots, it kind of launches up to build a query. So if that happens and you're suddenly in the query builder, don't panic. Just close this show table window and just X on that query, and then you'll be back in the property sheet again. So in row source here, be careful, make sure you click the down arrow, which, hey, that's a drop down list. How about that? And the one we're clicking is the status values list. Okay, so we've now linked up the status on the form with the actual table we built. And while we're here, there's one other thing we need to do, the final step. No, actually, we won't do that yet. We'll show you what happens if we don't do this final step, step number 4. So let's go across here to the left-hand corner, go to our view and go into form view. So when we click the arrow now, oh, beautiful, we've got change that to sold and save it, and that'll be a sold item. And if we close the form and go into the table, remember anything we do in the form should get carried into the table. So that one there, the antique wall telephone, is now sold. It's got a status of sold. Okay, so let's just go back into our stock items form and let's change that phone back to available. Now, the problem is that people can still type in here, no, I don't want to put available, I just want to say, keep it simple, it's in the barn. That's all we need to say, is that it's in the barn. And they can do that, and they can save the record with that bad data in it. So they can go moving off to other records, do all sorts of things, and that bad data is going to stay in there. Okay, so we need to do this thing to force them to only be able to pick and click from the list. Now, how we do that is the final step, step 4. So if you go into design view, make sure you clicked on that status field. We're on the data tab again, and on the data tab, we just did row source. If you go a little bit further down to this one called limit to list, we need to change that to yes. Okay, so limit to list needs to be set to yes, and that'll limit them to using items on the list. If we go back now to form view and try this out, okay, there's our drop down list. They can change it to charity. Maybe someone wants to type in, oh, it wasn't charity, it just got given away, okay? Or we'll just say, yeah, there wasn't enough room to type that. So that should have been an indicator that wasn't correct. But let's say someone wanted to put given away. When they go to click on another field, they'll get this error message here. The text you entered isn't an item in the list. Select an item from the list or enter text that matches one of the listed items. So this just forces them that they can only pick something from the list, okay? So that is why you need to do that 4th step for limit to list. And that's it, that's finished. The drop down list, the pick and click, or combo box as Access calls it, that's all finished, okay? So we did our 4 steps and did it, so let's save it. And let's close the form. Okay, that was status. Let's do one more together quickly. The other one we needed to do was the items. If we go back here, we were also going to do the condition and whether the condition was refurbished, new or used, okay? So that's another one we're going to do. So let's go across to Access and do that one right now. So remember the first step, step 1 is to create the table. So we create the table, we go into design view, and this one's going to be called the condition list values. So we'll do that one in camel case without the underscores, condition list values. Remember, take the primary key off, and this is going to be what the condition value happens to be, and it's not a number, this is short text, and then flip over to datasheet view. Yes, we want to save the table. So the possible conditions are new, press enter, and press enter to get down to the next line without that extra D on the end. And the other special one was refurbished, which means it's kind of been restored to like a near new condition. So we've got those three in there. We can save that table and close it. Now we can go into our stock items form. Remember, we go across to design view, and we're doing step 2, changing this to a combo box. We've done status, it's got its arrow. We're not doing that. We're now on condition. So right click on condition, just mouse over to change to, don't press the button yet, and go down to combo box, and now press the button. And that's got its drop down arrow. So now the next step is to link that combo box into that table we made, which was our condition list values. So over on the data tab, on the row source, remember to do the second one, we need to link that into, that was the condition list values. So that's our little table where we've stored new, used, refurbished in that baby little table. So that's got that done. If we go across, we could use it now in datasheet view, but we've got one more thing to do, and that's the limit to list. Remember step 4, don't forget that. Limit to list has to be yes. Otherwise, they can still just type any old thing they want to in there, which will mess up the database. Okay, so we've now got a pick and click for the status, and we've got a new one here for this. So the antique phone is used. It's actually been quite repaired and restored back to working order. So we're going to change that one to refurbished. And we can use the navigator down the bottom left-hand corner. Let's change to a few other things. So those two matching garden elephants that came in, someone actually entered that wrong. They're actually brand new. We've had a look at them and they're in brand new condition. So that's going to be changed to new. All right. So there are a couple of drop-down lists. There's just 4 steps that you make the table, then save the table, go into the form. You need to change it to a combo box, and you can only do that while you're in design view on the form. Then while you're there, go to the property sheet, go to your data tab. You need to use the second one down, row source, set that up to be the table or the list values, the little table you made, and make sure you go to that other one on the data tab, limit to list, and set that to yes. So we've got quite a few here for you to practice on. And this is the guide, so look, it's worth getting the guide. Now, maybe these videos I'm making are not the best, they're not super professional. Look, I'm just doing the best I can here with this, and hopefully they'll get better as I go along. But, you know, the guide is a good quality item, and it's available for less than $2 US. So look, why not just buy a guide and have a look at it? You might find it's useful. If you don't, well, you've wasted less than $2 on your effort. If you think it is useful and you'd like a whole class of 30 students to use it because you're a student or a teacher or a trainer, it's going to save you a lot of time. Here's the ready prepared lesson for you. Yeah, well, buy one of those. I think that's less than $5 US. That's $5.30 or something Australian, less than $5 US for that investment. Now, on there in the guide, we've got some extra things for you. So you can do another form, which is in the start database, the unsold items form, and open that one up. Now, on this, the status, we don't want to change something that's older than 37 days and going off to charity because the bargain barn's not interested in it, because their philosophy is if it doesn't sell within 30 days and the seller hasn't come to collect it in the next 7 days, it's more than 37 days old, get it out of the barn and just give it to charity. Now, we don't want them changing it back to available or to out of stock. We only want them to change it to charity. So on that form, you can't use your existing little table you've got for status. You'll actually have to make a new little table. So one that just has available and charity. So if the thing's in there, it's older than 37 days, but no one's bothered to do the collection of charity items yet to take off to the charity shops, it just stays as available. Once it's been taken out of the barn, load it up to take downtown to the charity shop, then it can be changed to charity because it's no longer in the barn. So there's only two options there. So you'll have to make a special little table called charity status values and just have those two in there. A similar one for the sold items form. So on the sold items form, there's also, we can make a drop down for status, but this status is limited as well. So the status on this is that it's either sold at the moment, but once the seller has been paid their 80% of the selling money, the price, the 80% of the original price, then it's set to out of stock. So once Passy gets around to paying the seller, the item is set to out of stock. So I only want two values there. We don't want someone to set it back to available because it's not in the barn available anymore. Someone came and bought it and the buyer has taken it away and they're having a very happy time with their item that they bought at a good price at the bargain barn. Right, now there's another one you can do for practice, the category drop-down list. So this one here, it's going to be a rather big table. It's not going to be a big table. It'll just be a single column table, but it's going to have quite a few categories in there. So these are the categories that have been decided upon. So you can build that table with the categories in it, link it all up, and then on category, they should be able to pick and click from any of these. So this is drop-down lists. This makes your forms a lot more friendly for people to use and stops people from accidentally typing in the wrong thing. Later on, we want to have things set as sports, for example, because then if they're set as sports, we can do a search and we can find all the sports items that are in the barn at the moment. So it's important those things are done correctly. So our last step is to save the database. So let's go across to Access and do that. We'll just save that table and close it. So once you've done those assignments, then it's File, click on the, well, let's do that again so you can see it. In the top left-hand corner, click on File, and then it's Save As, and we need to make sure it's Access Database here, and we do Save As. Then we'll just find somewhere to put it. And let's just go to our drive here, Microsoft Access Database, drop-down list done. Let's save it as that. And I've already saved it, so it says to replace it. So that's that taken care of. Where are we going to next in the course? If you've been following along with the course, first up we set up the database and the tables for the database. That's kind of like the foundation of the house that we build everything else on. Then we made some queries to get various reports. Those queries were useful because in the next lesson we made screen forms where we used some of those queries as well as using tables to make forms. And today we've added some drop-down lists onto forms to make them a lot more usable and to minimize mistakes happening with data in the database, to do a bit of what's called data validation where you minimize mistakes. Next lesson's exciting because we're going to get some pictures of our items that are for sale and have pictures of them on the form, just like eBay does with theirs. So that's going to be fun, and that's our next one, getting product images onto the forms. So thank you for watching this lesson. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, down in the YouTube video description, there will be some timeline markers so you can click to different sections of the video when we get round to putting those in, and there will be a list to a link to our website where you can get the download materials that go with the lesson. So bye for now, and we'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to put the nice pictures and images of our stock items onto our forms.